Good afternoon, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this afternoon, no fix for damage bribery case did to cartel murder trial, says defense attorney. Just like Humpty Dumpty, defense lawyer John Clark yesterday charged that there are no common laws safeguards available that can fix the post-trial damage caused by the bribery issue, which unfolded in the murder trial of Vybz Cartel and its three co-accused. Closing out the arguments for the defense against the retrial, Clark hammered home that it is now too late to fix that problem, noting that the trial judge could have instituted certain measures, such as a gag order or prohibited publication on the issue to minimize the publicity. He said if those common law options had been deployed, these appellants could never complain that publicly in relation to the bribery and how many Jamaicans view them, which is demonstrated in the material provided to this court. The bribery could affect another hearing. Clark, however, conceded that, despite the complaint about the bribery issue, the defense would accept as a solution any remedy that the court could find to cure the prejudices against the accused. Citing a similar case, he said the three options were presented: poll the jury, delay the retrial, and move the case to a remote area to fix the publicity issue. In light of that, we will submit that if the Crown can show that any of these options can be deployed to save the retrial in this case, and then we would have lost on that point, he added. But Clark quickly pointed out that the trial could not be delayed, neither could the trial be moved to a remote area. Although polling is possible on the island, Clark said the test would be whether it would be practically possible to draw a jury that would eliminate the prejudices from their minds. At the same time, he said the court could examine all the material to determine how widely disseminated it was and the nature of how prejudicial it was in order to unearth the potential for unconscious bias. Considering all those points, Clark surmised that it would be impossible to put Humpty Dumpty back together again during the hearing in the Court of Appeal to determine whether Cartel, born Adidja Palmer, Sean Shornstorm Campbell, Kahira Jones, and Andre St. John are to be retried for the September 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams. The Court of Appeal upheld their 2014 convictions in 2020. However, in March, the United Kingdom-based Privy Council overturned the convictions and remitted the matter to the local appeal court to decide whether there should be a retrial. Meanwhile, attorney-at-law Isaac Buchanan, during his submission, argued that the Court of Appeal must deal with the issue of the breaches of the accused's constitutional rights, which have not been justified by the Crown. He also pointed out that there are questions surrounding whether the evidence collected, sorted, collated, and preserved was in breach of the men's right to privacy. Turning to the issue of the strength of the Crown's case, which is one of the prosecution's grounds for pressing for a retrial, Buchanan argued that the Crown is relying on evidence for which it has not yet got permission to use and which will be challenged by the defense. Buchanan emphasized that there were problems associated with the technological evidence that the Crown intends to use and the evidence of the main eyewitness. Pertaining to the technological evidence, specifically the phone evidence, Buchanan said that the defense has an expert witness who provided a report to establish that there was tampering with the device and that the inadmissibility of the phone evidence and the certain technological evidence which would not be available to the defense would place the defense in a worse off position than before. Further to this, he said the report from the expert would also show that the prosecution's case had weakened and had been whittled down. However, Justice Marva MacDonald Bishop, noting that the Crown had objected to the report, told Buchanan that the appeal court would not be delving into that report as it was the jurisdiction of the lower court should the matter be retried. Additionally, she said that the court understood the point about the strength of the prosecution's case as it is related to the technological evidence, and we accepted that that factor ought not to be given any greater weight. Moving on, Buchanan further pointed out that there were several inconsistencies in the sole eyewitness evidence and that similarly, the unavailability of the handwriting expert witness, who is the only person who had seen the eyewitness's original statement, would also affect the defense's case. This, he submitted, was another point to be considered by the court in ruling against the retrial. The Crown will begin its argument today as to why the men should be retried. Indicom probing police fatal shooting along St. John's Road. The Independent Commission of Investigations has launched a probe into the fatal shooting of a man by the police along St. John's Road in Spanish Town, St. Catherine on Tuesday morning. The deceased has been identified as 22-year-old Jason Taylor, unemployed of St. John's Road. About 7:30 a.m., a police team reportedly went to 81 St. John's Road in search of Taylor. Upon arrival at the location, it is alleged that Taylor was observed exiting a blue drum with a gun in hand. He reportedly pointed the weapon at the police party, and the members took evasive action and fired. Taylor was shot and the gun reportedly fell to the ground and was retrieved by the police. The police say the weapon was a 9mm pistol affixed with a magazine containing 7 rounds of ammunition. Taylor was taken to the Spanish Town Hospital where he was pronounced dead. PNP distances itself from Damien Crawford's GCT increase proposal. The People's National Party says Senator Damien Crawford's suggestion for an increase in the general consumption tax to fund education does not represent the party's position. The opposition party's clarification follows the criticisms from the ruling Jamaica Labour Party, which has urged Jamaicans to pay attention to the potential for new taxes under any future PNP administration. A 1 percentage point increase in GCT would yield $25 billion in revenue, said Senator Crawford at a Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools conference in Trelawney on the weekend. But the PNP says Crawford's comments were made in the context of exploring different ideas and were not a reflection of the official position of the PNP. It is important to state unequivocally that the PNP has neither discussed nor contemplated the introduction of any additional or new taxes. Our party understands the burden that increased taxation would impose on our citizens, especially at a time when the cost of living has been increasing intolerably and the mere survival is a daily struggle for most Jamaicans, it said in a statement on Wednesday afternoon. Noting what it calls the success of the post-2012 fiscal reforms, the party said it firmly believes that there are sufficient resources within the government's current budget to better invest in the education sector. Government's tax intake has increased year after year at rates significantly exceeding inflation, thereby rendering increases in tax rates unnecessary, it said. It added, "We are committed to prioritizing and reallocating existing resources to ensure that education receives the attention and the funding it needs without introducing new taxes," it added. Richard Query, a Deputy General Secretary for the ruling JLP, has dismissed Crawford's proposal and urged Jamaicans to take careful note of the PNP spokesman's call for a tax increase. The Jamaica Labour Party is proud of its record of not imposing any new taxes on Jamaicans over the past 8 years, noted a statement from Query on Wednesday. It said Jamaicans should not return to the days where the PNP heaped billions of dollars of taxes on the backs of the Jamaican people and pursued policies which devastated the people but greatly benefited a few politically connected individuals. Kahira Jones, an accused in the Vybz Cartel case, laments a lack of intimacy. Kahira Jones, one of the accused in the Vybz Cartel case, has told the court that he has been deprived of the opportunity of intimacy and to create a family. Jones, who has been in custody since 2011, also disclosed that he has racked up a $70 million debt in trying to clear his name. Jones, along with Adidja Vybz Cartel Palmer, Andre St. John, and Sean Campbell, are trying to convince the Court of Appeal not to rule that they should be retried for the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams. In March, the UK-based Privy Council, Jamaica's final court, threw out their convictions and sent the case back to the Court of Appeal to determine whether there should be a retrial. That hearing started on Monday. Attorney-at-law Iqbal Chevaria, while making oral arguments on behalf of Jones, asked the court to assess the ordeal faced by his client, who went into custody at age 27. He pointed to Jones's affidavit, in which the accused man said he is now 40 and the continued criminal process has deprived him of creating a family. He was unable to enjoy a protected right, Chavaria added. Justice Marva Bishop MacDonald, who is leading a panel of judges comprising Justices David Fraser and Paulette Williams, inquired about conjugal visits and was told that Jones has not been afforded that privilege. Chavaria also asked that the financial challenges faced by Jones be taken into account when weighing the decision for retrial. Jones, he shared, disclosed in his affidavit that he had to take out loans to pay for his legal fee when he was appealing the conviction before the Court of Appeal. He said those loans have not been repaid. If it wasn't for the mercy of God and the kind of help from one of the appellants, I would not have been able to have my appeal heard before the Privy Council, the lawyer read further. Turning to the prosecution's case against Jones, Chavaria submitted that there was no technical or forensic evidence against his client, placing him at the crime scene. He also argued that there were inconsistencies in the evidence against Jones from the main eyewitness in the case. The lawyer asked that the prosecution not be allowed a second opportunity to present fresh against Jones in hopes of strengthening its case, as that would be unfair. Guys, thank you for watching. See you this evening at 6 p.m. for another news update.